Beloved, listen carefully. There are moments in life when a person kneels down in the quietness of the night and whispers a prayer that no one else hears. No one sees the tears that fall on the floor. No one hears the questions rising from the heart. But heaven hears, God hears. And today, I stand before you to tell you something your spirit has been waiting to hear. The fact that you are hearing this message right now is not an accident. This is the sign you have been praying for. Some of you have been praying for a long time. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months, months into years. You asked God for direction. You asked Him for confirmation. You asked Him to show you that you are not walking alone. And sometimes, when the answer delayed, doubt began to whisper into your mind. Doubt said, maybe God is silent. Doubt said, maybe heaven has forgotten. But I tell you today, God is never silent. When it seems silent, it is because He is working in ways your human eyes cannot yet see. A farmer does not plant a seed in the ground and wake up the next morning expecting a tree. There is a process hidden beneath the soil. Roots are forming where no one can see. Life is developing in secret. In the same way, when you pray, something begins to move in the spiritual realm. Your prayer does not disappear into the air. It becomes a seed planted before God. And every seed planted in faith must eventually produce fruit. Many people stop praying because they believe nothing is happening. But what they do not understand is that delay is not denial. The silence of God is not rejection. Sometimes God delays because He is preparing something bigger than what you asked for. Sometimes He delays because He is preparing you. Look at your life carefully. The challenges you faced, the doors that closed, the people who walked away, the moments when everything seemed to fall apart, these things were not meant to destroy you. They were meant to position you. God often removes what is comfortable in order to lead you toward what is purposeful. Some of you lost opportunities and thought it was the end. But later you realized it protected you. Some of you trusted people who betrayed you and you wondered why God allowed it. But later you discovered that betrayal revealed who truly belongs in your life. God does not waste pain. Every struggle has a purpose. Right now, many of you are asking God for a sign. You say, Lord, if you are with me, show me something. Lord, if my prayer is heard, confirm it. I want you to understand something today. God's signs do not always come with thunder and lightning. Sometimes the sign is a message that touches your heart at the exact moment you needed it. Sometimes the sign is a sudden peace that enters your spirit after months of confusion. Sometimes the sign is a door opening where every door was once closed. When God wants to speak to you, He will find a way. He can use a message, a moment, a dream, a stranger, or even a situation you never expected. The question is not whether God is speaking. The question is whether your heart is ready to recognize His voice. The world trains people to depend on what they can see. If they cannot see it, they do not believe it. But faith does not operate by sight. Faith operates by trust. Faith says, even when I cannot see the answer, I believe God is already working. I have seen people who prayed for healing when doctors said there was no hope. I have seen people who prayed for restoration when their families were broken. I have seen people who prayed for provision when their pockets were empty. And again, God proved that what seems impossible to man is possible with Him. But listen carefully when the answer comes. It rarely looks the way you expected. Sometimes you ask God to remove a problem. but instead He gives you strength to overcome it. Sometimes you ask Him to change people around you, but instead He changes you. And when you change, everything around you begins to change. The sign you have been praying for is not always a sudden miracle appearing in front of your eyes. Sometimes the sign is the transformation happening inside you. The way you think is changing. The way you respond to difficulties is changing. The things that once controlled you no longer control you. Maybe in the past, rejection would break you, but now you stand stronger. Maybe in the past, fear would stop you from moving forward, but now courage is rising inside you. That is not a coincidence. That is the hand of God shaping your life. Do you know why many people miss their breakthrough? Because they expect God to move in a dramatic way while ignoring the quiet ways He is already moving. They look for a storm while God is speaking through a whisper. Sometimes the sign is simply that you are still standing. After everything you went through, you are still breathing, still believing, still hoping. That alone is a miracle. The enemy expected you to give up. The enemy expected your faith to die. But here you are, still searching for God. That is proof that His hand is still on your life. There are people who started this journey with you, but disappeared along the way. Some walked away because the road became difficult. Some allowed bitterness to take over their hearts. But God kept you. Not because you are perfect, but because His purpose for you is not finished. When God places a calling on a life, nothing can stop it except the person carrying it. No obstacle is greater than the plan of God. No delay can cancel what He has already written. What God has prepared for you will not pass you by. That is why today you must rise with a new understanding. Stop looking at your situation through the eyes of fear. Start looking at it through the eyes of faith. What you call a delay may actually be divine timing. Imagine a child asking a parent for something dangerous. A wise parent will say no, not because they hate the child, but because they love them. In the same way, sometimes God closes doors because He sees what you cannot see. He sees the road ahead. He sees the hidden traps. He sees the opportunities you have not yet imagined. So when something does not work out, do not rush to complain. Instead ask, Lord, what are you protecting me from? What are you preparing me for? Your life is not random. Every step has meaning. Even the moments that feel confusing now will make sense later. One day you will look back and realize that the things you once questioned were actually the things guiding you toward your destiny. And today, as you listen to this message, something is shifting in your spirit. Hope is returning. Faith is rising again. That heaviness you carried for so long is beginning to lift. This is not just emotion. This is confirmation. You prayed for a sign. And sometimes the sign is the awakening happening inside your heart right now. God is reminding you that you are not forgotten. He is reminding you that your prayers have been heard. He is reminding you that the story of your life is still being written. The enemy wanted you to believe the chapter you are in is the final chapter. But it is not the end. It is only a page in a much larger story. Your pain has a purpose. Your struggle has a meaning. Your waiting has a reward. When Joseph was thrown into the pit, it looked like the end. When he was sold into slavery, it looked like the end. When he was placed in prison, it looked like the end. But those moments were not the end. They were preparation. God was positioning him for a throne he could not yet imagine. In the same way, the place you are standing today may look like a limitation. but it could be preparation. The delay may be developing your character. The waiting may be strengthening your faith. Because when the blessing finally arrives, you must be strong enough to carry it. Many people want the promise, but are not ready for the responsibility that comes with it. But God is not just preparing a blessing for you, He is preparing you for the blessing. So do not lose heart. Do not allow discouragement to silence your faith. Every prayer you whispered in the dark has been recorded in heaven. And when the time comes, the answer will arrive in a way that makes you realize God was working all along. One day you will stand in a place you once prayed for, and you will understand why the journey had to be the way it was. You will understand why certain people left your life. You will understand why certain opportunities disappeared. You will understand why certain prayers took longer than expected. Because when God answers, He answers completely. Today, receive this truth with all your heart. The very fact that you are hearing this message at this moment is not coincidence. It is divine timing. God is speaking to your spirit. He is telling you not to give up. He is telling you that your prayers are not wasted. He is telling you that what you have been asking for is already moving toward you. The season of waiting is teaching you patience. The season of silence is teaching you trust. And the season that is coming will reveal why everything had to happen exactly the way it did. So lift your heart, strengthen your faith, stand firm in your belief, because the sign you have been praying for is already unfolding in ways you are only beginning to understand. And the next chapter of your life will prove that when God moves, He moves with power, with purpose, and with perfect timing. There are moments in life when waiting feels heavier than the problem itself. You pray, you believe, you hope, and yet the answer seems far away. Days pass and nothing changes. Weeks pass and the same silence surrounds you. In those moments, the heart begins to ask questions. Lord, do you hear me? Lord, are you still with me? Lord, when will my answer come? Many people believe waiting is a sign that something is wrong, but the truth is very different. Waiting is often the place where God is preparing something greater than you can imagine. The human heart loves speed. The world teaches people that everything must happen quickly. If something does not happen immediately, people assume it will never happen. But the kingdom of God does not operate by human clocks. God operates by divine timing. His timing is not slow and it is not late, it is perfect. The challenge for many believers is learning to trust that perfect timing while standing in a season of waiting. When a seed is planted in the ground, nothing appears on the surface for some time. If someone did not understand the process, they might believe nothing is happening. They might dig up the soil and say, this seed is not working. But beneath the ground, something powerful is taking place. Roots are spreading, life is forming, strength is developing in silence. In the same way, when you pray, something begins to move in the spiritual realm, even if your eyes cannot see it. Waiting is not empty. Waiting is active in ways the human mind cannot fully understand. While you are waiting, God is arranging circumstances. While you are waiting, He is aligning people, opening unseen doors, closing dangerous paths, and preparing opportunities that are not yet visible. Many times the delay you experience is not about punishment. It is about preparation. God knows the future that lies ahead of you. He knows the weight of the blessing He intends to place in your life. If the blessing arrives before your character is ready, The blessing could destroy you instead of elevating you. That is why waiting becomes a training ground. In the waiting season, patience is formed, faith is strengthened, wisdom grows. The heart learns to depend on God instead of depending on circumstances. What feels like a delay is actually a transformation. Think about how many times people ask God for something and imagine that if the answer comes immediately, their life will be perfect. But God sees what the human eye cannot see. He sees the road ahead. He sees the responsibilities that will come with the answer. He sees the battles that will appear after the breakthrough. So before the answer arrives, He prepares the person who will carry it. Many great destinies have been shaped in seasons of waiting. When a person waits on God, something powerful happens inside the spirit. The heart becomes more sensitive to His voice. The mind becomes more disciplined. The soul becomes more stable. Without waiting, people would receive blessings they are not ready to handle. Without waiting, many would misuse the opportunities placed in their hands. Some people see waiting as weakness, but in the kingdom of God, waiting is strength. It takes strength to keep believing when nothing has changed yet. It takes strength to keep praying when the answer has not appeared. It takes strength to wake up every day and still trust that God is working even when the evidence is invisible. That strength does not come from human determination alone. It comes from faith. Faith says that what God promised will happen even if the calendar says it is taking too long. Faith says that what God began in your life will not remain unfinished. Many people lose their miracle because they abandon faith during the waiting season. They begin to believe the voice of doubt instead of the voice of God. Doubt whispers that the delay means failure. Doubt whispers that the prayer has been ignored. Doubt whispers that the dream will never happen. But faith speaks a different language. Faith says the delay is temporary. Faith says the answer is already moving. Faith says the silence is not empty, but full of preparation. Look at the story of every great victory in life, and you will see a season of waiting before the moment of breakthrough. Waiting is the bridge between prayer and fulfillment. Sometimes God allows the waiting season to stretch longer than expected because He wants to build something deeper in the heart. When a person receives something easily, they often treat it lightly. But when a person waits, struggles, and trusts through difficulty, the value of the blessing becomes clear. The waiting season also reveals the true condition of the heart. It shows whether a person's faith is genuine or temporary. When everything is comfortable, anyone can claim to believe. But when the answer delays, the depth of faith becomes visible. Waiting separates those who believe only when life is easy from those who believe even when life is uncertain. In the waiting season, many things are being arranged beyond what human understanding can see. Sometimes the blessing you are waiting for depends on another situation being prepared somewhere else. Sometimes another person must reach a certain point before the door can open for you. God's plan is larger than a single moment. It involves many pieces moving together in harmony. Imagine a clock with many small gears turning inside it. Each gear moves at the right moment to create the correct time. If one gear moves too early or too late, the clock will not function properly. In the same way, God's timing coordinates many unseen details so that when the answer arrives, it arrives exactly when it should. This is why impatience can be dangerous. Impatience pushes people to force doors open that God has not opened yet. When people force doors, they often enter situations that bring unnecessary pain. But when God opens a door at the right time, the path becomes clear and the blessing carries peace instead of confusion. Waiting teaches the heart to trust that God's timing is better than human timing. It teaches the soul that rushing ahead of God leads to frustration, but walking with God leads to fulfillment. There are moments when the waiting season feels long because the enemy tries to fill your mind with discouragement. The enemy knows that if he can make you lose hope, he can make you stop believing. And when belief disappears, prayer becomes weak. But every time you choose to trust God again, even after disappointment, something powerful happens in the spiritual realm. Faith becomes stronger than fear. The waiting season also builds resilience. It teaches the heart how to stand firm when circumstances are unstable. It teaches the mind how to remain focused even when the environment is uncertain. These lessons become valuable when the blessing finally arrives. Because when success comes, challenges will still exist. Opportunities bring responsibilities. Growth brings pressure. But the person who learned patience during waiting will have the strength to handle those pressures with wisdom. Sometimes people think the miracle itself will remove every struggle from their lives. But the miracle often introduces a new level of responsibility. A person who prayed for influence will one day face the responsibility of guiding others. A person who prayed for provision will one day face the responsibility of managing resources wisely. Without preparation, those responsibilities could become overwhelming. So the waiting season becomes a classroom where God prepares His people for the future they asked for. Another reason waiting becomes powerful is because it deepens the relationship between the believer and God. When life is comfortable, many people forget to seek God sincerely. But when they wait, they pray more, they reflect more, they search their hearts more deeply. In that searching, they begin to discover things about themselves they did not notice before. They see weaknesses that need healing. They see habits that need change. They see attitudes that must be transformed. God does not only answer prayers by changing circumstances. Many times He answers by changing the person who prayed. When the heart changes, life begins to change as well. During the waiting season, you may also notice that certain people disappear from your life. Some relationships fade. Some connections weaken. At first it may feel painful, but often this is part of the preparation. Not everyone is meant to walk with you into the next chapter of your life. Some people were meant only for a previous season. God sometimes removes distractions so that the path ahead becomes clearer. Waiting can also reveal hidden strength inside you. Many people underestimate their own resilience until they face a season that requires endurance. During those times, they discover that their faith is stronger than they imagined. They discover that their spirit can survive storms they once believed would destroy them. This discovery becomes a powerful source of confidence. Not confidence in human ability alone, but confidence in the power of God working within them. The transformation that occurs during waiting is often invisible to others. People around you may not understand the battles you fought in silence. They may not see the prayers whispered during sleepless nights. They may not know how many times you almost gave up but chose to trust again. But heaven sees every moment. Every prayer offered in faith becomes part of a spiritual foundation that cannot be shaken easily. Then one day, the moment arrives when the waiting turns into fulfillment. It may come suddenly. It may come quietly. But when it comes, something inside your spirit will recognize that the season has changed. The door that once seemed impossible begins to open. The opportunity you prayed for begins to appear. The peace you longed for fills your heart. And in that moment you realize that God's timing was never late. It was perfect. You see how the delays protected you. You see how the struggles strengthened you. You see how the waiting shaped you into someone capable of carrying the blessing with wisdom. You realize that if the answer had come earlier, you would not have been ready for it. What once felt like a burden now reveals itself as preparation. The waiting season transforms into a testimony of faith. And the journey continues forward with a deeper understanding that every prayer, every delay, every lesson was part of a divine process unfolding exactly when it was meant to unfold.